Hey YouTube, Kira Twick here, bringing you all an update to my Chrysalis Neospace Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile. This is one of the decks that I, have to come back to and always try to update. It's one that has not seen support. If we actually do get, Chrysalis support, I think my bigger question will be, why didn't we just, get new Neospace support? But the Chrysalis were always a fun archetype used by Jaden in the Yu-Gi-Oh GX manga, one that I've always tried to make work more with, just focusing on the Cocoon Party spell, which is what I still think to be one of the best spells that, the archetype has to offer for special summon power, and really no limitations on that special summon power once the Chrysalis monsters are out on the field, giving you plays for some other monsters to be able to summon out as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Chrysalis monsters, we're running 2 copies of each Chrysalis monster. So 2 copies of Chrysalis Dolphin, 2 copies of Chrysalis Larva, and 2 copies of Chrysalis Pantail for the first 3 of the Chrysalis monsters, each one being able to go into Dark Panther, Flare Scarab, and then Aqua Dolphin with the tribute of the monster and having Neospace on the field, and then you special summon them from your hand or deck. So there is your special summon resource. The reason I run 2 of copies for these cards is because, one, we do have the tribute power, but then being able to set up the Neospatian monsters that we tributed out in our graveyard can give us even more power with the spell Cocoon Party, which I'll go over when we get to the spells. The other 3 Chrysalis monsters are the 2 Chrysalis Chicky, the 2 Chrysalis Mole, and then the 2 Chrysalis Penny, being able to summon out Air Hummingbird, Grand Mole, and also our Glow Moss for each of these Chrysalis monsters as well. Same premise and concept for the first 3 of the Chrysalis monsters, just with them being the main focus of the deck, and then the overall summon power of the deck as well. For the Neospatian monsters, running 1 copy of each Neospatian as well. You have each one of their individual effects to use in the deck, whether it's Aqua Dolphin's Monster Destruction, Flare Scarab's Attack Gain, Air Hummingbird's Life Gain, Dark Panther being able to copy monster effects, Grand Mole's Bounce Power, or Glow Moss's Draw, Reveal, and Card Effect also. So each one of these, for the tributes, you have a target to be able to summon out with each one of the Chrysalis monsters on the field also. And then you can even use those Neospatian monsters for some extra deck summons, setting them up in the graveyard to then power on the Cocoon Party also. One of our bigger cards also in the deck for some more graveyard setup is Elemental Hero Prisma. Running 3 copies of this card because all you have to do is reveal a Elemental Hero monster that has one of the Neospatians as the fusion requirements. You can send it to the graveyard, and then you have the card on the field count as the name of your Neospatian monster. Once again, this is more of a setup to help with our Neospace Cocoon Party play as well, for each Neospatian with a different name in your graveyard. So the more you can set up with Prisma, the more you can special summon off of the Cocoon Party as well. Now, the Neospace field spell is another important part of the deck because you need it on the field to be able to tribute your Cocoon monsters. So 2 copies of Neospace Pathfinder. You can discard this card to add 1 Neospace from your deck or graveyard to your hand. It says graveyard as well, so having that recycle power from the graveyard if our opponent is to destroy this field spell is good to rely on with this card also. And then lastly, the 1 copy of Elemental Hero Neo. So a lot of times we're just going to use the Cocoons for engine fuel for the extra deck, but there are chances when you can go into the extra deck for your fusion plays if you have Neos on the field, or if you use Prisma to copy the name of Neos on those fusion monsters and then have your Neospatian monster already on the field, and then being able to contact fuse those monsters. Now, getting to the spells, the important fusion spell that I mentioned before, and I say fusion spell, but mostly just the spell for the Chrysalis monsters, and that is Cocoon Party. You special summon 1 Chrysalis monster from your deck for each Neospatian monster with a different name in your graveyard, giving you the different name special summon. So the more Neospatians you have in your graveyard, the more of a setup you'll have for your Cocoon Party if you can set up those different Neospatians. Let's just say, thanks to the Prisma play, sending the 1 Neospatian to the graveyard, copying the name, having 1 in your graveyard. Then you can just activate your Cocoon Party, special summoning 1 Chrysalis monster from your deck for each Neospatian monster with a different name in your graveyard. If you have 2, that's 2, and Cocoon Party is not a once per turn either, so you can just continue the activation of this card and giving you more and more resources to use on the field. It's a definite 3 of in the deck just for that overall power alone. It's not a once per turn. It gives you special summons. You can summon the same Chrysalis, but this is also why I run the 2 of count for each one, because if you use the Chrysalis monster to summon out the Neospacian, then you can use Cocoon Party to give you that additional monster also. And then I also run 2 copies of Neospace, just 2 because we can search it with Pathfinder. And if you have multiples of this card in your hand, it really doesn't do much. Once you set up the Neospace, it really doesn't give you any of a search on the field. It doesn't give you any other, boost for the Chrysalis monsters. It can give a Neos monster the protection it needs to stay on the field, and then the boost to Neos itself. But once again, it's just there so you can have the tribute power for your Chrysalis monsters also. And then also 2 copies of Cocoon Rebirth. You can tribute 1 face-up Chrysalis monster you control to special summon 1 Neospatian monster with written in its card text from either player's graveyard. So either player's graveyard. So if you happen to be going up against the opponent using the Chrysalis or Neospatian deck as well, that's where you can take one of their own monsters using Cocoon Rebirth, but still just a way for you to use your Chrysalis monsters to summon back the Neospatians from the graveyard. Also, 2 copies of Space Gift for more draw power. If you have just a Neospatian monster on the field, that's a 1-card draw as well, so good with the Prisma play also. And then also I have 1 copy of Convert Contact. If you wanted to run additional copies, you could drop the number of Space Gifts. Convert Contact, setting up a Neospatian, 1 from your hand and 1 from the deck to the graveyard to draw 2, gives you the +2 in special summon power with Cocoon Party if need be, along with the draw 2 from this card. And then also for some of the 1-ofs for the Cocoon Support, 1 copy of Instant Contact. I really do like this card because you pay 1,000 life points to special summon a level 7 or lower Neospatian monster from your extra deck. So we can grab a Neospatian from our extra deck and have it count as one of those resources sent to the graveyard as well for this summon. So then you have just that play for your monster to be summoned out. And while your Elemental Hero Neos is neither on your field or graveyard, the summoned monster cannot attack. Its effects are negated and is returned to the extra deck during the end phase. You can only activate 1 per turn, but it also doesn't restrict your summoning, so you can basically use it as a resource to then go into the extra deck again. And also the 1 copy of Contact, another way around not having Neospace to be able to send all Chrysalis you control to the graveyard to special summon 1 monster from your hand or deck that is written in the card text of those cards also, just evolving your Chrysalis monsters, once again without the need of Neospace. 2 copies of the Emergency Call to search out Elemental Hero Prisma, and also the 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, because this card can also search out Prisma on top of Pathfinder also, which sadly is not a Elemental Hero monster. And then lastly, since this is a Cocoon themed deck, just the 1 copy of Cocoon Veil. It protects you from effect damage, so more of a 1 of, just because it's a tech, you might not even want to run it. If you're not that worried about effect damage, you can always just bump up the copies of Convert Contact to 2 if you want by taking out the Cocoon Veil. And then for our extra deck, I have the Neospatian lineup. So we have the targets with the, Prisma to reveal and send. If you are missing a hero, I know I have the Air Neos, but I don't have Glow Neos in here. So if you don't have Air Neos and you put Glow Neos in here, it's just all down to which one you send to the graveyard, because then you'll be summoning the different Chrysalis monster from your deck to the field with Cocoon Party. I also have the 1 copy of the Neospatian Marine Dolphin if you want to run Twinkle Moss. That can also just come out for 1 of the Link monsters which we run, which are the 1 copy of Almirage, the 1 copy of Cross Sheep, the 1 Barricade Board Blocker, the 1 Nightmare Cerberus, along with the 1 Nightmare Phoenix. And then bigger boss monsters to go into include the Blackluster Soldier of Chaos, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, the 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, and the 1 Typhoon Sky Crisis to wrap up the extra deck. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I said, summoning out Prisma is a big part of the extra deck plays, because then you can reveal your hero monster, and then from there send the hero monster to the graveyard, and then you have your setup with your Elemental Hero Prisma, being able to then use that monster resource for your play with your Cocoon Party as well, because then you can activate your Cocoon Party and then have your special summon of your Chrysalis monster from your deck to the field, and then that can be your additional resource as well. Now, another way to make use of this is if it's later on in the game, you could also have the setup of your other Neospatians in the graveyard, because the more you have in the graveyard, the more cocoons you can summon out for the extra deck resources. This is where cards like Our Convert Contact can come in handy as well, because then if you control no monsters, you can go for the activation of Cocoon, Convert Contact, just having the one, let's say, stray Neospace in your hand, sending it to the graveyard along with one other one from the deck, drawing 2 cards. You could potentially draw into one of your Cocoons, but hopefully a Searcher to give you the Prisma, summoning out the Prisma using the same reveal play, sending the Neospace from your deck to the graveyard, and then being able to use your Cocoon Party here, having the 3 different Neospaces in your graveyard, summoning out the Cocoon monsters then to the field as well. And what's great is that you just have these 3 monster resources. Oops, there's not a penny right there. Sorry about that. To use for your plays, you can go into bigger link monsters that we have in the deck. And then once again, Cocoon Party is not a once per turn, so if you have more in your hand, that's more Cocoon power to then just be able to summon out again. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, just a fun deck that I always like to update. The Chrysalis being some pretty, adorable artworks in their own for the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. Some other thoughts that if you want, you could always substitute out the emergency calls for a Hero Lives, just being able to summon out your Elemental Hero Prisma to the field, and then save your normal summon for, let's say, another Neospace in your hand that you can then use to set up in the graveyard off a link play using the Prisma on the field also. But it's just a thought as well. Putting your life points low with such weak monsters in the deck is a big weakness that your opponent can also go around also. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.